Hey, looking back to Two Super Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny. And today we're going to take a little moment to talk about something that happens around holidays. It's kind of interesting. We're shooting this Memorial Day weekend, 2024. Happy Memorial Day. Never forget people that have died for our freedoms. But we want to talk about the dynamic that kind of plays when you have family coming together, right? Um, this is a quote, if you want to go to the presentation,
Mm.
that actually is, I think, kind of interesting here. So good old Teddy Roosevelt, one of my favorite presidents. But comparison is the thief of joy. You ever heard that before?
I have. I did not know it was him.
Yeah. I mean, there may be other people that have said it prior to or repeated it since that may get him a little bit more credit for it, but it's been attributed to Teddy Roosevelt as well. This is probably a little bit more common one that people hear. It's another version of it. Ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah,
What the hell does this have to do with like a stock and investing channel? All right.
and
So I
I'm
know.
also wondering.
Wondering yourself. So, when you have the gatherings around holidays, people tend to talk. And, as someone that's like kind of interested in personal finance and investing, it's always something that I kind of cue in when people bring this sort of thing up. And particularly, like I find myself in the position where I feel like um, I span different groups. I have some friends that are very much interested in this topic, and I have some friends and family that like don't know anything about this topic and like aren't really interested in it. So I find that like you're dealing with the discussions at multiple different levels, and you can kind of get a little bit. What's what I want to say here? Conceited when it comes to some, where you're like doing so much better than others, and then you also can get a little bit discouraged when you talk to some that are doing so much more, kind of uh, so much better than you are, right? Like it's hard
Yeah.
to walk that line, you
So
know?
a line of overconfidence versus, I guess, naivety.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think it's a good idea to always kind of rein it back in and try to figure out, what really is out there and where does this come from and like what sort of plan and path should you be establishing for yourself so that, whether or not you're, falling behind some or doing better than others, you're still walking your own path in line with what you think is reasonable for you. Um, so this is a number actually. This is from Fidelity. This is how many multiples of your salary you should have saved for retirement according to Fidelity. You ever seen this chart before?
Yeah, but your salary changes. Of your,
So
because I mean this is
yeah,
ridiculous. Because hopefully you're making more at 40 than you are at 30. Otherwise, I think something went wrong there.
yeah. And they also say of your starting salary, which I think is a little interesting too. Like, other
Oh,
assuming you started at like you're in your terminal career at 22, say fresh out of college, and that was your starting
yeah.
salary that you
My
follow.
starting salary as a waiter at Mimi's Cafe when I was 16, I'm
Yes.
killing it then. Yeah, I'm doing really well.
Yeah. I mean, if you got paid in booby picks, you'd be doing fantastic. Okay. But like it's something that where I personally like I had a career where I had at one point probably triple my annual income at one point in time where I prior to you can make a big jump up. So like, what do you compare it to? So it's everyone walking their own path. It's a question of where do you put yourself in perspective. This is from Schwab, actually. This is even more aggressive. They're telling you should have 13 to 17 times your gross income by the time you retire, basically at 65. So
I
even
agree with
amongst
that. If it's the starting salary, then I guess that makes sense.
okay, fair enough. I don't know if they specified. I did not verify that, but my point here is that even amongst like experts and household names in finance, there's a pretty vast disagreement between 10x and 13 to 17x, and I think it's 10x at 67 versus 13 to 17x at 65. Right? Those even they don't agree with each other too well.
I think this is complicated because so you'd have to go off of average age, right?
Yeah.
Average age of an American. So if you're saving from 65, then your average age is 77. So 12 years.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to bank on 12 years, right? Because
Yeah.
so you spend
It-
it all and you're 77, you're like, ah, shit, I'm still here.
yeah. Well, no, you're now talking about like with safe withdrawal rates, getting into that a little bit too. So the original kind of that 4% rule comes from like a paper that was published where they did like a Monte Carlo analysis of like the worst performing years of the S&P 500, and they arose at that 4% conclusion, meaning that even in the worst case scenario, that portfolio withdrawal rate of 4% was kind of stress tested to survive. I think it was either 20 or 30 years in retirement. I can't
Okay,
remember which one it was. Big
that's
difference
good.
between the two, I know. But um, this is kind of gives you the flip side of the coin, right? Because the Schwab and the Fidelity numbers I just gave you are what the experts are saying you should have. This is what people actually have, right? So this is from it's Federal Reserve basically data on retirement accounts. You have both median and average based upon age. So this is
Boy,
more representative of the typical household or typical worker as opposed to the aspirational of what the textbook says you should be able to achieve.
that is quite different.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
two sides. That's I mean, so essentially a 3x for
Yeah.
retirement.
So I mean, think about the median household income of being about $70,000 per year in the U.S. I mean, this is not household numbers, but if you're looking at median retirement account here of 65 years old at 200K, that's 3x of what the actual median household income is.
It's not good.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely could be better, and definitely should be much more closely aligned to what like the experts say you should have, right? So this is kind of highlighting my point about how never forget that you're doing better than some, but not as good as you could, right? Like that's the kind of the mental context I wanted to put into play here. Same thing, this is another one where it shows you just how far off some folks are from achieving these goals. Is that how many Americans living paycheck to paycheck? 78%, according to this self-reported study here. Now, that's a little bit. I
This is
think
a
that's
weird
probably
time.
reasonable, right? Yes, it's a tough time with inflation, and I think people forget like what is exactly your definition of paycheck to paycheck. People hear that phrase and like, yeah, sure, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but I'm also saving 12% of my income per year towards retirement, right? Like, you
Yeah,
ever think about it that way? Yeah, because you're not thinking about the money that's coming out and being contributed outside of what you're actually doing, So you have to put that in context a little bit.
I more look at it as how many paychecks can you not have and have to change your lifestyle. So like, could you
Yeah,
live 6 months without pay and have to change your lifestyle, that kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And the same thing here. This data point has been bantered about forever, but basically, what percent of Americans come up with $1,000 cash in an emergency? It's 44% according to this particular survey. Usually,
Yeah.
somewhere around that hovering mark, around 50% of Americans could come up with that. Crazy.
Also, $1,000 emergency is not a big emergency now. That's
No.
I mean, I live in Arizona, so your AC dies 5 to 6 grand, man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and you have to have it. That's
Yeah, and then as far as like even what your percentage of income going towards retirement should be, they took three really popular kind of personal finance gurus here, and I give you their numbers. So this is Dave Ramsey's baby step, 15% is what he recommends. This is the money guys, love those guys, but they're recommended 20 to 25% of your gross income headed towards retirement. And then this is Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you've ever encountered him, but 10% is his number. Yeah, even amongst experts, pretty broad disagreement in
how
terms of
much do you
retirement.
save?
I calculated today; it's 12%
12?
is my current retirement savings rate. I'd like to get to the 15 is my goal.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah,
I
better than some, not as good as others, right?
I will say that's probably what I'm best at is the budgeting aspect. And it's not really that I try hard, it's just that everything I like is very, very cheap. So
Love it.
that works. I think I'm at 50 plus.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, not on purpose. I just, you hang out with buddies, it's just free. Like we just
Yeah,
played pickleball. There's, the
love
racket's
it.
$12. I don't know
Yeah,
what it is, but
Dylan has
so
never encountered this phrase of lifestyle inflation. He still thinks that's when you have a blow up girlfriend.
lifestyle inflation. Oh yeah, but
Yes.
I'm 20 miles away from Scottsdale. I don't ever go. It's the most overpriced piece of junk. I just go buy steaks. And it's way cheaper. I don't understand.
I love it.
This is
I
crazy.
love it.
But yeah, that's a rant. Sorry guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Learn to lower your expectations. You'll never be disappointed. That is how Dylan likes to live his life.
we're gonna end it on that one. Thank you.
Catch you next one.